positive about. And that first half was probably one of the worst first halves I think I've ever seen Blues play.
Hello and welcome to the Blues Focus podcast with me, your host, John Graham. Once again, many thanks for taking the time to view or listen to this content from wherever you download it or view it from. And please, as ever, leave your comments, good, bad, or indifferent. Lots to talk about over the last week or two with the games that we've played, which we will obviously debate over the coming sort of hour or so, and maybe look forward to future fixtures. Because as ever, when we thought it was going to be a bit predictable, it isn't. So that joy continues. But anyway, Tom, how are you?
I'm very good, thanks, mate. How are you?
I'm good, mate. I think I'm still in a world of just probably coming back to what Blues has always been for me, which is a bit of a pisser because I thought that was all over, but apparently not. And Carl, how are you?
Yeah, good, mate. Yeah, same as you, I think, to be honest with you. It's like you say, just when you think you're kind of over it, they come out and just take your legs from underneath you, don't they?
Yeah, it's an absolute joy. So let's get involved. So I think first and foremost, we'll talk about the Peterborough game. I think there's probably a lot to cover off in that. But before then, we were obviously treated to, Fulham at home. Just an odd game. I was saying to Cole before we came on, I walked away from the ground with the same feeling when we lost to Leeds 5-4. It was defeat, but it just felt like we'd really put a shift in against a good side. And there were. I mean, I hate to say because I was taking the mick out of the Walsall manager at Villa when he was moaning about, Villa had played really well against, I think it was Chelsea. And they got good 3-0, and they can take the positives out of it, which obviously that was fantastic. But actually put ourselves in the same position against Fulham, so calm as a bitch and all that. So, Carl, what just on the Fulham game? What did you think?
Yeah, I mean, I think I feel probably going to say what I think most Blues fans felt. We could have won that game 6-4 on another day, comfortably, and I was sat chatting with the guys around me in the Gilmerritt Lower and sort of saying we can win this 5-4 when Troy got the penalty, because we absolutely could have. There's no reason. We hit the post with the bar, we had it cleared off the line. Gazzaniga had a freaking worldie of a game, and it was one of those games that it was similar to Bournemouth. You couldn't quite believe we'd lost it, but even though the scoreline would suggest we'd lost it fairly comfortably. And obviously, at one point, you were 4-0 down when you had, but it was just, you didn't walk away from that feeling like you'd been battered 4-1 by a team that, in all probability, are going to get promoted.
Yeah.
And when you think, again, similar to Sheffield United, one of their players costs more than our squad on his own, that quality is always going to come through, isn't it? But I think that we went toe-to-toe for, I'd even say the 90 minutes. There were times, obviously, defensively, we were very poor. But I'm sure we'll cover that off a bit more with what happened at the weekend. But there was no signs there for me that we weren't up to that level, despite the scoreline saying otherwise. And I left fairly content. And I think you mentioned as well about the whole Leeds game, like you say, you felt disappointed that we hadn't actually got something out of that game because we probably deserved it. I think we had the same or more chances. We had equal possession, more corners.
Yeah,
they just took the same old story. They took their chances and we didn't. It's as simple as that.
Yeah, and I think the feeling from last season when we were losing games 1-0 and Karanka was giving it, we were the better side when it was just obvious that we weren't. Anybody, Blues fan or not, that we were always second best, but lose by the odd goal. And I dare say if we'd have set up exactly the same against Fulham this time around, it probably might have been 1 or 2, but it would have been just damage limitation. So, you never like conceding 4. And again, there was just silly mistakes, really. But you get, it's the old adage that when you're playing against quality, you will get punished. So, Tom, what did you think about the game? Sort of similar thoughts?
Yeah, definitely echo those thoughts. I think the best, probably the thing that's come from it the most, I'd say, is we were all brought back down to earth. Especially in the game we're going to talk about after this. But it's classic Blues. You go into it after a good start to the season that we always seem to have, and you fancy us. Even Bowyer said before the game, he fancied us in this game. Fulham, they've been on and off, but they are one of the best teams in the division. Obviously, they just lost to Blackpool at the time. Quite an embarrassing defeat for them. And I think we can certainly relate on that front at the moment. And obviously they've lost again since playing us as well. So it's not like it's impossible to beat Fulham, but on the day, similar to the Bournemouth game, they were just more clinical. They had more firepower that we don't have, despite us creating a lot of chances. And that's all you can really nail it down to at the end of the day. But it wasn't a bad performance by any stretch of the imagination.
No, and to echo before we move on, Carl's point, their keeper was just ridiculous. I mean, it got to the point. I was lucky enough. I was sat in the Kop, by the halfway line where you get a bit of corporate and that. And the guy that I think it's Deeney's agent. He was the guy that's on the photos with JK and Deeney and whatever. He was there with his missus and I think a couple of maybe Deeney's family. And every time the keeper saved it, because Deeney could have had 4. Yeah. It's just, and he made a save against Hogan in the first half that was offside, but just an unbelievable save. He's done exactly the same again in the second half, similar sort of save, low down to his right. And just like, I mean, Bowie said after the game, it's one of those where you could have played for 3 days and we were just never going to score. But I actually don't think our finishing was that bad. There was a lot on target. It was just, he was absolutely exceptional. And it says a lot, when you lose 4-1 and their keeper's probably man of the match, then, that probably tells a story. And again, Carl, you're right, the stats, if you were just looking at that without the score, you'd say it's probably a draw or Blues nick it, or, the side with the more chances nick it. I think moving on from that, do I think it exposed us going into the game against Peterborough? I think we needed to freshen it up, and I think probably we all felt that there would be a couple of changes. Did I? And I just get the feeling that me personally, I'm all over 3-0. We're going to absolutely obliterate them and kept a clean sheet in 9. And I'm settling down to watch it at home with the kids, and I've just nipped in the kitchen. And by the time I come back, we're 1-0 down, and I'm like, yeah. And it just sort of sets the tone. But before we get into it, Tom, just on the lineup, was that what you were thinking? Were you expecting a change of system because we'd shipped a few? What were your thoughts when you saw the team?
I expected the same system and the same shape because at the end of the day, we didn't necessarily play badly. It's worked for us so far this season. We just had one off game. So you think, don't break what's already working.
Yeah.
So we go into the game. I did expect a couple of changes, like personnel-wise. There's 2 ways you can look at it. Hogan's our top scorer, or Hogan had a really, really bad game against Fulham. So I wasn't massively surprised. However, like we said, we all like that sort of shithouse front 2 of Deeney and Duke, but it clearly showed the lack of mobility until Anike came on in the second half, where we actually did something. I sort of expected some changes. Some just didn't have the best game, but I thought it was harsh to drop him. And then, putting Gardner in the squad, that went well. I think overall there was no positives really to take from this game at all as we're about to digest into it. But no, I wasn't extremely surprised by the lineup, and I'm still fairly optimistic. I think Peterborough fans thought we were going to beat them. We thought we were going to beat them. Anybody outside or just a football fan in general would have looked at that fixture and thought, oh yeah, Blues will win that. No, in classic Blues fashion, we don't win that, because this is the sort of defeat that seems to spiral our early season every year. And I just hope for the love of God, it's not the same old season where we lose to some bang average relegation fodder and we go on this awful run for the rest of the season, then save ourselves with like 8 games to go. That's all I ask.
Yeah, I'm probably going to, well, no, just say as I see it. I don't see that, to be honest. But one thing's for sure, and before I'd sort of chip in with my thoughts on the team selection, Cole, but obviously we played a couple of games, and I know they put a lot into the Fulham game. Were you of the opinion that we could maybe go one more time with knowing there's a week break?
Yeah, I genuinely thought we did. I mean, I know that, we're 7-8 games into the new season. Do you know what I mean? It's not like they've played 40 at this point. And all the signs were there that, again, we weren't going to have some kind of early season collapse, against a team who utterly played us off the park, utterly just made us look idiots, and made a mockery of our system. Like Tom, I wasn't surprised there were changes. I think the Mail sort of predicted that there would be those couple of changes. I was surprised that Sunjic was getting dropped, purely because I think him and Woods work really well together. One anchors, the other goes, and that's the way it's been for the last few games. And I think, whilst I love Gardner, I think that it's a different type of player. Do you know what I mean? He brings a high energy, but it's a different type of energy to it. But yeah, I absolutely didn't think that 38, 40 seconds into that game, it was gonna collapse the way it did, and I mean, again, alluding to Tom, I don't think anyone expected us to lose. And even on the way outside to the away end, I walked past, there's a couple of Peterborough fans talking to a copper, and a copper was like, "Oh, desperately need a win, don't they?" And the guy was like, "Yeah, we're not going to get it today, though."
Yeah,
and it's one of the, I think I'm going to just chalk it up to a blip, hopefully, but time will tell. Ultimately, it's Blues. You just do not know sometimes what you're going to get, do you? Yeah. Ultimately, no. But yeah, I thought, to be perfectly honest, I knew it'd be a tough game because they held the baggies until like the 93rd minute, but I wasn't expecting that.
Yeah, and I mean, I've said ever since he's gone to that 3-5-2, it's my preferred system. I really like it. I think that Bella has been, up to probably the Fulham game, an absolute revelation. But if you're not a natural wing back and you're putting in the yards in that he certainly has done, and again, it's not really been like sort of clever after the event. I've always liked McGree, love him, and I think that he could have come in on that left hand side and given Bella a bit of a rest, just because of the yards he's put in. It's not because I don't rate Bella, I do, and if he can repeat the form of the first 3 or 4 games, is he a better option in that left channel than McGree? Probably. So it's not to say that I don't like Bella, I do, but it's just asking him to do so much over and over again. And I felt maybe this was just maybe that one game too far. I absolutely eat humble pie on Sunjic. I thought he was pointless. Totally pointless towards the end of last season, and ever since he's come in with Woods, and I think Woods has got a big part to play in Sunjic's upturning form. And I agree, Carl. I think they work really well together. One goes, one sits, and vice versa. I wouldn't have changed that up. I really wouldn't, because Sunjic should play 90 games a season, and because Woods is so smart with the way he plays. He's not box to box. He's just very clever with how he does it. So I don't really see him getting burnt out. And Colin's the same. He'll play 100 games a season. So I think the key thing for me, and it was that dilemma of Deeney or Djukovic or Hogan. And I know we had a bit of a laugh on the last pod saying, let's just have an EK, Juki and Deeney.
We've actually seen that since.
We have, and but I'm with you, Tom. I think we've lesson learned. Lesson learned for me. You can't play a high press with two guys that aren't quick.
See, the thing is, though, I've heard so many people say that term "high press" on Twitter at the moment. It wasn't even a high press; it was just a high line. There was no pressing there, and it made no sense.
No, and that's it. And because I think that we've been incredibly good at that. That real, just everybody's moving forward to the point where the defence, when the keeper's got the ball at feet, we're on the halfway line. The midfielder, everybody's pushing on as a unit, and that's where we've got a ton of it as success. And Peterborough, I'm with you, Carl. They played us off the park, but they weren't shy at knocking around the back. And if we'd have that same level of intensity, they ain't Man City. They're not. That's why they were in the bottom three.
Like
yeah, exactly. They try and play like it. So you need to use your nous. And if it's a Hogan and a McGree instead of a Djukovic and a Bella that's blowing out of his arse, maybe that would be a better option. But so for me, and again, I'm not gonna bullshit. I was absolutely bolt on winning. Even with the team we put out, I thought it'd be 2 or 3. So. As I left the kitchen after a minute and walked into abject silence in the lounge. So what, Carl? What were your just thoughts on the first half? Where do you think it went wrong?
Well, it went wrong from the ball going out of play from the fucking kickoff. I think, to be perfectly honest, we lost that ball from the kickoff, which we do so often. By the way, can I add? We really need a new kickoff routine. And from there, we just never seemed to recover at all. They came at us, they got in down the side. Okay, on another day, Sarkic gets the ball, Hardy clears, and it doesn't end up in the back of the net. But I think that is effectively really where it went wrong, because the moment that goal went in, their tails went up and we were shell-shocked. And I just think we just didn't recover. And we just didn't know what to do. And for the first time this season, I was like, it was like they'd never played that formation before. Yeah. It was like it was the first time we're just going to turn up and just give it a go, because why not? And there was, as Tom said, there was very little for the whole game to be, positive about. And that first half was probably one of the worst first halves I think I've ever seen Blues play. And that's quite strong. Yeah, genuinely, ever.
Nice.
I mean,
no.
The way that they. Yeah, I'm about 20 years younger than you there, John. But it's just the way they just took us apart. This is a team that were one of the lowest scorers in the championship, and they just took it apart. Absolutely.
And the worst defence in the championship as well. And that's the first clean sheet they've actually got in the championship this season, if I'm right.
Oh,
yeah. But they no one just seemed to have an idea what to do. And I'm not fully convinced that it was a penalty, to be perfectly honest, from where I was stood. I'm convinced Woods didn't touch him, but to be fair, I'd say that if Woods had punched him in the face.
It was soft though. It was really soft.
Yeah.
I had so many people having a pop at me on Twitter for that. I was like,
it was just,
for me, it's not.
No one just seemed to know what to do, where to go, and it just looked like I say, we just turned up and thought we'll play a brand new formation that no one really knows what they're doing. And I just think that Sunjic in the middle, I know we've already mentioned it, but I think that really messed up the cohesion, because Woods didn't quite know where to go, what to do, and they just bypassed the midfield time and time again. And once you bypass that, and they were just streaming forward in 3s and 4s, and they're always going to have the overload at that point. But
yeah, I think that nobody ever admits it. But at the end of the game on Wednesday against Fulham, never seen it at Blues when we've lost by 3 goals. And everybody was still there. Everybody was still singing, applauding the players. And yes, okay, you look at the stats and everything else, but there's only one stat. You fucking lost 4-1. So I just think we went into the game probably like we all did, foregone conclusion. I do think there was an element of complacency in there.
Well, Deeney alluded to it, didn't he? He said that if we play like that the weekend, we'll score 5.
Yeah.
And it kind of shows that, was that the mindset?
Yeah, I think it probably was. Because I just don't see it was the flip reverse of what we did to Luton. Because I mean, we literally, they didn't have a kick all game. Everything we did sort of came off. They looked completely lost. So, yeah, and it was just, and I Tom, I don't know whether you'd agree, but I've always said that the way we set up as this 3-5-2, the gap behind the wing backs into the channel that splits the wide three, so whether it be Pedersen or Roberts, and the problem is Roberts has now had 2 really poor games, and that's not to say anything other than that. He's had 2 really poor games. No, nobody's above criticism if they've had a shit game. And I just think that ball into channel that they use so often, it wasn't necessarily a lump. They played some really good stuff and got us turned. That we just then became massively exposed. And I think you're right, the Sunjic Woods dynamic, there was nobody sitting, and there just was this gulf, and it was just full of Peterborough players all the time. And I'm like, this is just, and I'm not a massive advocate of 4-4-2, far from it. But there comes a point where you've got to say, we're getting overrun here everywhere. And or even just play one up top. Because Deeney can play one up top, no problem at all. And just get somebody else, just do something. And I think that for me, I was amazed that we didn't make a swap at half time. Albeit he was pretty quick to do it afterwards, but I don't really see the point of that. Well, obviously, and we shipped a goal. But I think our frailties that have been there in odd parts in games were just massively exposed. And I think you've got to give Peterborough and the manager a lot of credit, because that didn't just happen. They've looked at it and thought, if we're going to win, this is how we're going to win. And they executed it, no problem at all. Tom, just on that, I guess, I think the system's going to get a lot of. They're going to have to work on it a lot this week. So now we've shipped 7, scored 1, which was a penalty. Where's your head at with it all?
I think for me, the best way to look at it all is breaking down the game. Very short, very simple. First goal, like Carl said, the kickoff routine, it's always been shit. Literally never not been. I don't know why we do it, but we just do. And then obviously we lose the ball early. And obviously there was a lot of criticism for Bella in that game. He wasn't fantastic, but for me, he was better than the other wing back on the day, which was Colin, who I've said this so many times, is honestly on his day, he's one of the best, particularly attacking as well, one of the best fullbacks you'll find in this division. But as soon as you stick him up against someone with extreme amounts of pace, he's gone. I said this with Adam Armstrong and plenty of other players like that. Siriki Dembele literally ate Maxime Collin alive. And that's not saying Maxime Collin's a slow player. He's not. He's, his pace-wise quite average, but he just seems to not fare well against those quick players. And Dembele was just having fun. He really was just having fun. Obviously, gets in behind, puts that low-driven ball in. And I think Dean sliding in the way he does is risky anyway. And that showed with the own goal, because we could have prevented Clark Harris from getting anywhere near the ball just by holding him off. Like, we didn't need to, slide in so dramatically. And then, whenever Blues go 1-0 down so early on, it never tends to go well. And it rocked our confidence, because sometimes we forget that this group is still a very similar group that we've had the last 2 or 3 years. And they've at least 7 or 8 of them are confidence players, which isn't great, but obviously on their day, they will be fantastic. So that was always going to be an issue. Second goal, for me, I said that I didn't feel like, from where I saw it, I didn't feel like it was a penalty. And now a lot of people have said to me that they felt it was a penalty, and I can see where they're coming from. I do, because in the modern game, those sort of fouls are given, unfortunately. But for me, I'd have said it was more 70% simulation and 30% sort of foul, because he was waiting. He never actually looked like he was going to have an attempt on goal. He tries to round Sarkic. That doesn't work out. So he's waiting for Woods to touch him. The second Woods touches him, he goes down to the floor so dramatically. It's unbelievable. But that was the game plan. It was never to score from open play. It was always to win that penalty, because it wasn't really, you know, an attacking player that actually won it as such. It was more of a midfielder. I'm struggling to remember his name. I feel like it was Grant, but I'm not too sure. Anyway, he never looked like actually trying to score a goal. He was just waiting for that penalty. And unfortunately, you'll win those in the modern game. It's sad, but it is the way it is. Penalty happens, not much Sarkic can do. It's a decent penalty. You look at the third goal, we come out in that second half, first 3 or 4 minutes, looking really bright. We've already created at least 4 or 5 really good chances. And you're like, okay, Blues could actually come back into this. We've lobbed everybody forward. What do you know? 1 counter-attack, 1 goal. And that's it, nail in the coffin. From there on out, we were always doomed. Gardner gets sent off for a silly lunge, really, but it's sort of in the nature with the Gardners. They like a good foul. So, yeah, I wasn't too surprised, but funnily enough, when we went down to 10 men, we actually looked like a better side.
Oh, we were.
Yeah, exactly. Bring on Chuks and Ike, and he was like 2 players in one anyway. So, no, he was fantastic. But Dion Sanderson as well seemed to sort of strengthen us up at the back. But that's because he offers something that all of those other defenders don't offer, and that is pace. And it's rare you get that with centre-halves, unfortunately. Pace isn't a natural trait. But Dion Sanderson it is, and he showed that. So I think he's definitely merited a start in the next game, and that, in answer to your question, would be where I'd look to sort of prepare us more or toughen us up for the next game. However, you could look at Preston, and their forwards are far from pacey. You know, Connor Wickham and Emil Reese, they're more target men. So I don't know. It depends. We'll see. But overall, very embarrassing performance. But I do stand with Bowyer's comments and what Dean says. I know a lot of people have said it seems more like an excuse. Watching that performance, everybody looked shattered. Fatigue was easy to see. And on this occasion, I am putting it down to that. Hopefully, we don't go on a bad run and we can pick up a result against Preston.
Yeah, I think, you know, I struggle with fatigue, I'll be honest with you. I probably am showing my age there.
I mean, they did have an extra day of rest, Peterborough, in fairness.
Well, yeah, but I think where and it's just unbelievable, we've gone literally polar opposites. You've got this time last season, 11, you know, literally everybody behind the ball, including the subs, to this season, it's literally everybody's gone. And yeah, 3-5-2 works best when it is a genuine that. So you've got 2 wing backs that are literally bombing up and down. And if one's gone, one sits to make a 4. Pretty basic stuff. The problem that I see at the moment, and, you know, if you look at the stats, we are getting shots off. We are creating chances, you know, possession's decent. But I think we just need to be a little bit more pragmatic at the start of games. It doesn't matter who you're playing against. Just earn the right. Let your midfielders do the work. Chong was non-existent because I don't think he knew where he was playing, even though it was the same position. I don't think he actually knew what he was doing. And we just seem to have this. We've got 5 and 6 in midfield and then 2 up front. And then we're expecting that. And it's happened on 2 occasions now, maybe 3, where we're 2-on-2 at the back on the halfway. We're attacking. They've got 2 up top, and we've got Roberts and Pedersen marking 2 strikers. 1 big ball. We're in a really bad place, and that's a lot of the time. Now, I'm all for taking risks, but let's do it when we're either got a really good foothold in the game, we're ahead of the game, whatever it may be. But I just think that Are we believing our own hype a little bit? Maybe. Have we all got a bit carried away? No doubt. But that's to be expected. I mean, for once, we're actually starting to see in football the way that we want to see it be played. We've got a manager that is, heart and soul of the club, and all the various cliches, so that he was always going to be a little bit, get a bit of ahead of ourselves. But I genuinely didn't see that coming on Saturday. I didn't, because I thought certainly, like I said, either change the system or change it at half time. He didn't really do either. And then when he changes it, it's pretty much over anyway. It was done. I mean, obviously Bella came off half time, and Sunjic came on. I just hope it is a blip. I really do. Cole, I mean, as far as that second half is concerned, and let's open the can of worms because it's probably the elephant in the room. Deeney, Djukovic, and Hogan. What we doing? What we going to do?
See, we all obviously said, let's do it. Like what we said earlier, let's go with Juki and Deeney, just see what happens. As Tom said, it was probably the worst experiment in the world because there's no pace, and Hogan offers that. And I think whilst Deeney is an incredible signing to get, we still are lacking a player similar to Hogan in that position, which obviously would have been Lecco before he went out on loan. Hogan, I think I said it to you boys in the WhatsApp chat. After the Fulham game, Hogan was limping off down the tunnel, so maybe that played into both your thoughts a little bit. But yeah, for me, Hogan has to start purely because he is our top scorer. He's got 5 goals this season already in the Championship. That's 2 or 3 short of his total for the whole of last season.
Yep.
We just look devoid of pace, and you have to have some sort of pacey outlet going forward, and we just didn't have that. It's all good and well having people who can win headers and hold up play and bring people in, but you need people running beyond that, and you don't have that in Duke. Deeney occasionally, but yeah, for me, it just doesn't work. I think Anike did really well coming on. It really surprised me as well, by the way, and this was a complete thing when Bo, you said that he's actually was a number 10 previously as well, Anike, which blew my mind because I didn't know that, and I was like, no way, you're having a laugh, aren't you, Bo? You look at him. But even him, like, he's got a bit of pace with the power. But yeah, for me, Hogan has to start with one or the other, or even with Anike, just to even up the little and large combo. It's worked for years. Why not? It's worked up to now. Let's keep going. And then in the second half, in games where, it's tight or we're struggling, we can bring on that power to start battering at defences when they start getting tired. And then, when we went down to 10, we looked better. We looked like we wanted more of the ball. Sanderson was brilliant. Great ball playing defender, I think, and his pace is going to really help us out.
Yeah,
but yeah,
I think he was the one real positive out of the game. He just looks assured. He just looks a player. So hopefully, that continues. But I think with Anike, my only concern with him is he's actually had quite a few chances. And that's not to say other players haven't, because they have, but he's been brought in to score goals. And the one, and I know it's only one shot, but he sort of broke down on the right hand side edge of the box, and to say it was a scuff is being generous. It was like he hadn't played before, and I don't know. I'm probably being a bit harsh, but I think that he has made an impact. So I think I'm with you, Cole. If he's going to be the impact guy, so if he's going to be the Duke, he's going to be the Deeney. He just needs to be on the pitch doing that rather than having 2 and then not Hogan, or 2 doing that and then Hogan. But the goal that Hogan scored against Derby, I don't think any of our other strikers are scoring that.
No,
I agree, 100%.
And that's the difference. And the problem we've got, and I know you look at the stats, and it does my head in, to be honest. Certainly against Peterborough, we were just so one-dimensional. So we weren't necessarily getting to the byline. We were wide and whipping balls in. So Deeney had that free header, which he should have done better with. But it's just a cross, like, from way deep, sort of not even really whipped in. His penalty spot header. And there were so many occasions where we were whipping balls in, but there wasn't really that interchange on the edge of the box, and we were getting shots off. I don't think we created that much against Peterborough. I don't, where I'm thinking we should have done better here, or we should have done better there. Against Fulham, yeah, and the keeper's had a great game. So, but I've gone through, I think, my indifference for Hogan last season, and he turned a corner, and ever since then, you get to a point where, and I think we've all said it, we have nobody else like him in the squad. And if he's your top scorer, you've got to just say, well, some of the best goal scorers forever have done absolutely dick all for 90 minutes other than touch the ball twice and get 2 goals. And he's exactly that player. And so I think we just got to get out the mentality of he doesn't do anything, or he doesn't look like he's going to do anything, because he only needs one bit of inspiration and he'll score us a goal.
That's what Lukaku did against Villa. He had 2 main touches and scored 2 goals.
Yeah.
He did bugger all the rest of the game and scored 2, and they won 3-0. So it's exactly that. And like you say, he's no one else in our front 3, 4, whichever one you want to play, is scoring the opener. No way. Not happening.
No. So yeah, and I'm just going to, Tom, probably throw you a hospital pass here. Deeney, do you think do you reckon there's maybe a bit of a power struggle? Do you think maybe there's a bit of everything was rose in the garden? Dean was Harley Dean was the notable captain. He was obvious leader. He was playing out of his skin. All of a sudden, Troy comes in and he's like, he is a leader. There's no in two ways about that. Do you reckon there's anything negative going on, or do you just think it's coincidence?
At the moment, I'm going to put it down to coincidence for now. However, if we seem to see, if we see any signs of a power struggle going forward from here, then it's clearly not a coincidence. But for me, Dean was like the other defenders. He didn't really do much at all in the Peterborough game, like everybody else. No one did. Whereas Deeney, he didn't look confident from minute one, which is weird because Deeney seems to be, that character that oozes confidence. But I looked at him before we'd even kicked off, and all the other players looked fairly raring to go. He's just very, you never know. You might call it a game face, but he just looked quite nervous from the outside looking in. He might not be that way. That might just be, him preparing himself. But he did seem nervous in front of goal. And obviously, like you say, he had that free header that he should have done better with. If that falls to Duke, it might be a goal. You don't know. His high, his press is certainly there. The work rate is certainly there. Deeney was putting himself about where he could. His hold-up play and sort of linking up in a give and go is quite good. However, we did that so many times that Peterborough just caught onto it and we kept losing the ball every time we tried it. Deeney backs into his man, tries to pass to somebody either side of him who's the runner, that third man runner. But Peterborough caught on very, very quickly and we couldn't do it anymore. So that's another attacking option just wiped out, sort of out of the way. Duke can't do that. But what Duke can do is, rather than hold up the ball and play the ball to the third man, he holds up the ball and wins a foul. And we'll get a set piece instead, which for Blues tends to be a positive because we are good at set pieces. And if you're going to play Duke and Deeney, you'd probably rather win set pieces, to be honest. And we did lack that pace. I feel like Chong was the only pace going forward. But yet again, Chong really didn't get much protection from the referee. Got battered by Peterborough. Was I that surprised? No. Because for some reason, as soon as a manager mentions about a player needing protection, the opposite seems to occur every single time, and it just gets worse instead of getting better. And I agree with you in the sense that Chong didn't really know where to put himself. 1 minute he's on the wing because nobody's there. Next minute he's at number 10. But naturally he was supposed to be at number 10. but he's trying to cover for other people who aren't doing their job.
Yeah.
And right now, I am just going to continue with that sort of fatigue route, and everyone was just tired. But that won't stand again against Preston. If we play like that against Preston, my words will be a lot harsher on this podcast than they have been about this Peterborough performance.
Yeah.
But I don't think we'll do that, because realistically, this is our first bad performance under Bowyer. And that is the way I'm trying to think about it. It's just, it's one performance. Every other game, even the ones we lost, we still played well, except this one. So it's just a bit, I hope.
And I think you're right. And it's, watching social media melt again, just because we've played poorly. God, how many games have they watched? It's like, it was surprising. Was it beyond the pale? No, because I've seen it all before. And that's not just a Blues thing. That's just a team that is still learning. It's still new. As I said, probably started to believe the hype a little bit. Probably were a little bit tired. Probably were lots and lots of things. But I just don't think that, you can just say that this is going to be the backdrop forever, because it isn't. And I agree with you, Tom. Maybe not just one, but maybe two more like that. And all of a sudden, you're into, do you change the system? Are the defence still shit that we've been saying for the last 2 years? Sarkic has got to go, having been the best keeper since, David Seaman in the blue shirt. It's literally the flip reverse has happened in one game. So I'm not going to do that. But I do think that they just need to be just a little bit more pragmatic, just to start off with, and earn the right a little bit and play a little bit more football. And it's really important that Woods just gets on the ball early, little 2 and 3 yard passes. I think Sanderson's going to make a big difference, because I think he'll be inclined to get him into the game. You take Roberts out of it, we miss the long throw. Is that the end of the world? It probably isn't the end of the world. It's if that's the only reason he gets in the side, then that's a bit of a poor show. Not to say that it's not effective, and it's just really, really difficult. It's like going in a rabbit hole. It's like change everything, change nothing, and I just don't know. I do know that Hogan plays. I know that, and I think Deeney has to start. And I know that's harsh on Dukey, but at the end of the day, you've just got to look purely on stats. And Deeney's been a Prem player for years and years and years and years. He's done it. He's definitely done it in the Championship. Hogan is by far our best goal scorer. Sunjic and Woods are the best two midfield combo we've had for a long, long, long time. And Chong in front of him, if he could just have that, I think he just needs that support where he knows what's in front and what's behind, so he can do his job. Then I'm not going to get too deflated about it, but I think that was definitely welcome to Blues Lee Bowyer, unfortunately, because don't even start to think that we got it cracked, and I don't think he does, but he certainly doesn't think that now, because that performance came from literally nowhere. But we go again. And, I think with Preston, it's probably not the worst side to maybe try and find our form a little bit. They're an average Championship team. I don't think they'll go down. They're certainly not going to go up. So, Carl, thoughts on, do you think there'll be wholesale changes? Do you think it'll be a big difference, or do you just think it'll be, right, guys, probably scratch the last two performances and go again?
I don't think it'll be wholesale changes. I would be shocked if Sanderson doesn't come in for Robbo, to be honest with you. He has had two poor games. And fair play to him for coming up and holding up his hands after the Fulham game. I think that was, fairly brave of him, considering what Blues fans are like on social media to players who don't play well, or just in general. I think Sanderson has to come in. I think he played half a game with that team and just looked phenomenal.
Yeah.
I would bring back Sunjic. I would actually I would probably stick McGree at left wing back, to be honest with you, because he did that last season when he played there for a game and he was fantastic there.
Awesome.
You've got to change it up sometime. You've got to have players that can fit all your system that you want to play. So give it a go. Give, players like Bella the chance to maybe come on and make an impact later on if he needs to.
Yeah.
I think one of Chong's issues as well in the Peterborough game, and I mentioned, I think he struggled because he didn't have the pace of Hogan as well. Because he uses Hogan quite a lot to play off and go. And I think he missed him. So I agree. I think Hogan has to start. I would probably agree. I'd probably start Deeney over Duke, just based on the experience, and also it's the one lineup we've not tried those two together yet. So let's see what happens.
Yeah.
But yeah, I can't see there being, I don't think we'll be changing the whole starting 11 just yet. I also think that Sarkic should be playing for as long as necessary, to be honest. I mean, Etheridge is playing for the 23s again tonight. So that's more game time on his way back. But I don't think Sarkic could he have done better with their first goal? Maybe. But I think out of all the goals we've conceded this season, I don't think there's nothing he could really have done about any of them.
No, to be honest, mate, I think I said it on the last spot, I think it was. Literally, jury was out for me, big time. Even after a really solid start, I just thought he's got a rick in him more so than probably any of the other options that we've got. Absolutely proved wrong, and I've got you right. I don't think he was. Maybe that first goal, that probably communication, but you're gonna, and I'm with you, Tom. If Dean's got half a chance of looking like a hero, then he's going to take it. But it's just stand up, just to keep standing. He spends more time on his arse than he does on his feet, and that is centre half. That is not a great trait. But again, I'm not gonna. Dean's been very, very good. So I haven't been his biggest fan. I think everybody knows that, and I'm not going to start jumping all over him now. But just don't want this to cascade back to bad moments in the past. And I mean, I saw a little bit of that. It was actually the Fulham game. I know it was the Bournemouth game when we went 1-0 down, and then we conceded, I think, from a corner, and we just gave up. It was like Karanka all over again. And that's going to be a big task for Bowyer, because Tommy made the point. A lot of this side is the same, and you don't, you always default. You always, you've got a level as a player, your consistent level. And I think over 2 or 3 seasons, the consistent level of Roberts, Harley Dean, maybe not Pedersen so much, but there's an element of that where there's a bit of quit in the locker. There's a little bit of rash challenges that ultimately, but like Gardner, he's no hero for doing that, albeit ironically we play better. But that being said, I just think there is a bit of a repair job to do, and Carl, I think Sanderson's got to come in just to freshen it up. Bowyer says, and he says on a number of occasions, it's a squad game, and it is. So you've got to have your courage, your conviction there. And personally, I would go with Deeney, as I said. But if he didn't put him in and put Juki, I wouldn't be asked either way. Because it's still early days for Deeney, and he's got to come in and have that. I think he needs that statement game where he's saying, right, this is it. This is why I've come in, and I'm sure we'll have that. It's just a matter of when. I hope it's against Preston. So Tom, where do you think? I mean, predictions are going to be interesting for this one. So what do you think?
I'd like to think, Lee Bowyer's Blues is different. We've all seen it. It's a different squad to what we've had in recent years, and I think that's hopefully going to shine through. Personally, seeing what type of man Bowyer is, I don't think we'll see many changes at all. I actually think he'll go back to the lineup we had against Fulham and Derby as a show of faith, nothing more, and also a bit of a last chance for certain players who have underperformed in the last couple of games.
Yeah.
And if they underperform again, then you might see the likes of Sanderson and Deeney more often. But no, I do think we'll go back to the lineup we had before we made the 2 changes at Peterborough. Sunjic and Hogan back in, Duke staying in as well, and so is Roberts. I think they'll both stay in. Because Bowyer does seem to like to give players fair chances. And I think Preston, like you said, it's probably actually a good side to play if we're going to bounce back. However, our record in recent years against Preston isn't fantastic. It's
always say that. I think it's because we've been so shit against everybody. It's like, yeah, you know what, our head-to-head against them is shocking.
It is. It really is. I don't think, I think we can all remember when Daniel Johnson scored and decided to shush the entire stadium. And multiple things were thrown at him, deservedly so. Because he's a Villa bastard at the end of the day. But obviously we can all look back fondly to when we beat them 3-0 at home and Michael Kieftenbeld scored from the halfway line.
Oh yeah.
So hopefully a performance like that, and if Deeney does play, this could be a great game for him to really assert himself. But I also think it'd be a good game for Hogan to prove why he's the top goal scorer at this club right now. And I hope he does. So for prediction wise, I'm gonna go 3-0 Blues. There we are. Probably too positive, but I take a 1-0.
I tell you what, it's 7-1 on aggregate in the last 2, and we're going to win 3-0. It's absolute genius. Carl, I'm going to go. What do you think? And let's bring back the trademark dream pick. I think that's well overdue.
I think that's why we have lost, to be fair, over the last 2 games. That's disappeared.
Yeah, it's for the manager's notes, that one.
Yeah, you watched this specifically for that. I agree. I mean, of course, Preston play midweek. They play in the EFL Cup, I think, tomorrow. So we can't use tiredness as an excuse this week if we get battered 3 or 4. But they are only playing Cheltenham. So, I reckon it will be quite close. I think we'll win 2-1. I'm going to go for McGree at left wing back as my dream pick. That's what I'm going to go for. That's what I'm going to get a pump for. But I think Hogan and Deeney to score. And knowing our luck, probably Johnson will score for Preston, or they'll score off someone's arse or something like that in the 90th minute just to make it difficult for us in the stands.
Sean Maguire likes a goal against Blues. That would surprise me.
It'd be something like that with his arse or his elbow or something.
Tom, I will allow a dream pick. So who would yours be?
My dream pick is going to be Etheridge up top. Bringing the goals. Interesting. I as much as I would like to see Sanderson, because I do want to see Sanderson involved. My dream pick would actually be to see Anike start. And although that's not the sort of player he is, granted, he really isn't that sort of starting player. He's always been better as a substitute. We've not actually seen him start a game in this proper full strength team. We've seen him start in the cup in a very weak young side, but I'd like to see what Anike could offer in a full strength team from the start of a match, whatever position that may be he plays in. And if he doesn't offer nothing, then at least we've tried it and seen it. Because I feel like I can't judge a player properly until I've seen them properly in every role that they can sort of play. So no, I'd be curious to see Anike, especially after his expected goals is like 3. It's something mad. It's like 3.23, something like that. And a lot of his chances he creates by himself. All the other strikers in the Championship are nowhere near Anike's expected goals because he just is that good at creating those chances. He just can't seem to score. So hopefully that changes, but I would like to see him start at some point just to see how he gets on. Nothing in particular. But that would be it, just out of curiosity.
Okay, I mean, I think he's had an impact every time I've seen him play, and he brings some energy and positivity to what we are. I just think he's got a bit of Lecco going on when it comes to finishing. Yes. And I hope
he's already scored a goal in the league. He's beaten that.
Yeah, so he wasn't exactly top bins from 35, was it? Let's be honest. So yeah, I that's my only worry. But yeah, I wouldn't. It would be mine. I want to see him on the pitch because I do like him. I hate to call him proper old school Blues. I've seen plenty like an EK over the years, and he's just good fun. I would go for Sanderson because I think that our defence. They need it. They need it.
Even someone like Mitch Roberts, actually, I wouldn't mind seeing Mitch Roberts involved in the
side. Yeah. I mean, I think there's a few. I mean, you look at the bench, and it's gone are the days where you sort of saying, well, yeah, just never in a million years are they getting on. Or if they do, they're going to do absolutely nothing. So, again, I'm not going to nick your pick, Cole, but I've always been a big fan of McGree, and just does it simple. Just does it simple. And, that sort of defensive role, he's not shy either. And he's got a little bit more just physicality about him. But no, I think for me, a bit of a change at the back. Oh, God. Go on.
I completely forgot. Jordan Graham. Where has Jordan Graham gone? He was unreal in pre-season. I know he had a little injury, but he needs to be in this squad. Like, I know positional-wise, it's not great because he's personally said he's not great at wing-back, right? So we could always try it. It didn't look great in the Cup. But I'd like to see him at that number 10 role, whether even if he came on as a sub to replace Chong, just to protect Chong, make sure he doesn't get injured, anything crazy like that. But I think Jordan Graham needs to make his league appearance or just league debut, because I don't think he's actually made his league debut yet.
I'd
like to see that.
No, he's if it does go to a 4-4-2, he can't be a million miles away for me.
Yeah.
I think it's just a no-brainer. And I think it was against Cheltenham.
Cheltenham. Yeah, he was unreal.
He was absolutely like the world stood still when the ball was at his feet. And I thought, my God, who's this guy? And then he played in the Cup and he was shocking. But yeah, so who knows? So before we, my prediction for the game, I think we'll win 1-0. I think it'll be tight. I think we are going to be going back to basics. I think we'll nick it. I will go, very boring and Scott Hogan, but I just think that he's the one that's the banker at the moment. And I just hope he's injured, but I don't understand if somebody's injured while they're on the bench. So, which happened last week. So who knows? Before we go, and not wishing to end it on a sour note, but at the end of the day, this isn't just about football. It's about our club, and our club, means everything to us. I've been going for as long as I care to remember. And I have to say, one of the things that I've prided my time at Blues and always have and cherished is that, we are a fully inclusive club. Some of the players that I've seen over the years have come in all shapes and sizes, all from all backgrounds. And, whether that be on the shirt, on the pitch wearing the shirt or supporting the team in the crowd, then for me, we are all the same. And to hear what we've heard in the news this week and actually watch that sort of transpire on the TV, just sickening, really. I can't really put it into words, because I can't even imagine sitting with Blues fans where that type of just vile, retarded abuse comes out of anybody's mouth. I'm disgusted. I hope they never ever darken our doors again and they go somewhere else. And I hope, if it is, at the moment, probably allegations, but if they are true, then I think we all just need to get behind the club, give them all our support. And these guys, there is no place for them in our club or anywhere near our club. And it was gutting. And do you know what? I was probably more pissed off about that than I was about the performance. And given how shit we were, that says a lot. So yeah, whether you want to add anything, guys, but I just think, we're a Blues podcast, and it's a long road, as they say, and we can't ignore just if somebody's trying to bring our club down. I think certainly from my point of view, I'm absolutely fucking disgusted in it.
Yeah, I think nail on the head, really. I'm not sure if you saw it, Tom. You probably did. One of my Blue Nose mates was at the game, and he was racially abused by Blues fans as well at half time by the toilet, so much so that he was that shocked by it, he actually left the game, which I didn't know until I got home, and I was absolutely gutted and livid for him. He was absolutely shocked. And to be fair, the Blue Nose community on Facebook, Twitter, the lot has rallied around him. People have been in touch with him. It's been phenomenal. But there's no place in any walk of life for people like this. Obviously, the allegations at the fans who obviously have abused the player are allegations. We don't know. And we'll obviously wait to see what the club says and what comes out of that. But you're absolutely right, John. If it's proven and if it's true, no, you've got no right being in my way in any walk of life, but least of all at our club. Our club has always been inclusive, and I've always been proud of never hearing any. I've always said, "Oh, Blues were not like that." I've never heard anything like that at Blues ever. And
never.
It genuinely. I was gutted. I was angry. I felt sick. And obviously, I mean, Tom, I see you at most games. It feels like nowadays.
It's every game at this point, mate.
An event your missus pointed me out. So but I've never been nervous about going to a Blues game or anything like that. And I actually feel a bit sick thinking about going to the game this weekend because, one of my friends had to go through that, and it was horrible to hear and talk about it, and stuff like that. And if it is you, we don't want you in our club. Kindly off you fuck.
Yeah, indeed.
Yeah.
Indeed.
I second you guys. You should never hear it anywhere, let alone at a football club. So hopefully it's never, racism is nowhere near Blues ever again. If those allegations are true, because it shouldn't be in sport in the first place. But I care about Blues, and I wouldn't want to see it anywhere near Blues, let alone in the world in general, but especially not Blues. So hopefully we don't hear anything like this again for ever, if ever. So hopefully this is the last of it. But if you do come to games just to say those sort of things, don't bother, just go away, be gone. And hopefully we just never hear it at Blues ever again.
Yeah, well, like I said, but I've never heard it before, and I've been, like I said, been going for a long, long time, and that's why certainly I was incredibly shocked. I just didn't think that was us, and I know that it isn't. It would be very, very, if it is true, hardly any people. But let's out them, let's shame them, and expose them for the sad little people that they are. But anyway, we move on. Let's hope Preston is back to the Blues team that we all know and love over certainly the back end of last season, the beginning of this, and we can get the let's just say the promotion train back on track. Jesus Christ! But for now, Carl, thanks a lot, mate. Good to see you again.
Yeah, you too, mate. Always a pleasure.
Indeed, and Tom. You didn't sort of get the KFC out, but I did see you having I think that was a chippy, wasn't it, or something like that. So, we'll try and get through the takeaway sort of the different cuisines over the coming weeks. So I'll
start presenting it at the start of every podcast.
Well, your dream pick is just going to be what type of takeaway you're having. So we'll see where we are for the next one. But mate, thanks for your thoughts tonight.
No worries. Cheers.
Right, well, that's it. We move on, and I think better times ahead. So we'll wrap that up. But between now and then, keep right on, and please, as ever, stay safe.